What's going on, Jackson? How's everything going? My question today is, let me get this right. How can justice be served on multiple individuals when one individual has committed a crime? Let me repeat that again. How can justice be served on multiple individuals when one individual has committed a crime? Y'all know where I'm going with this. Let's just keep this 100. What the heck is going on with our justice system? Look, I don't claim to know anything about the justice system. I don't, you know, I have never been in the justice system, but I know right from wrong. I know right from wrong. These two boys that that was involved in the shooting with this deputy down in Covington County, both of them are being charged with the same crime, but only one had committed it. But only one has committed the crime. And I'm noticing that with a lot of stuff going on around here in Mississippi. If you have 4 or 5 individuals and one person committed that crime, like let's say if it was a murder, all of them gonna get charged. Why is that? Why is that? Then the DA say, well, accessory after the fact. They got to gather evidence. See who's gonna snitch on each other. You know, what's the ballistic report on it? Whose fingerprint was on the weapon? This, that, whatever the case may be. But on the preliminary side, they all get charged. See, this justice system, in my view, sucks. It sucks. I mean, y'all ain't doing your job. Y'all ain't doing your job. Y'all ain't doing your job. One person committed the crime, but everybody that was there is gonna get charged. And you know who committed the crime, but everybody else still get charged. What kind of justice is that? Come on, man. Come on. Let's look. I'm just calling it out for what it is. The views and opinions of me, the host, on this channel don't reflect the views and opinions of any platform that hosts the 601 network, Real Jackson News. These are my opinions. But it's just questions that I'm asking because I'm not understanding. I'm not an attorney. I'm not trying to be an attorney. I'm not trying to be a attorney. I don't know anything about this type of stuff about this part of the law. But all I do know is that what's right and what's wrong. You know what I'm saying? Yeah, it was wrong for that boy to shoot that man. Yes. But you holding someone else accountable for what someone else did. We don't know what went on in the mind of the individual that created that caused that caused this situation to happen. And all of that right there has got to be, in the prosecuting attorneys, in his case, unless they're gonna do something crazy, unless they're gonna do something foul and crazy. And for me, I don't trust the justice system. Don't trust it. But all it's gotta be because you don't know what was in the mind of the individual that committed the shooting. You don't know what was in the mind of the individual on the passenger side. Whoever shot that officer, they ought to be charged to the fullest extent of the law. Ain't no doubt. You know what I'm saying? In my mind, because that man got to live with that for the rest of his life. But to charge both of them fellows, you know what I'm saying? There's a sense of unfairness, you know, because I'm with this guy and he's my brother, you know, I'm being charged too. You know, I have no control of what goes in the mind of my brother. If I'm riding a car with him and he hauls off and panics and shoots somebody, I'm gonna be charged with it. You with him, you going with him. See, that's a sense in my mind an unfairness. That's a sense of unfairness. Case in point, what if Money was asleep? What if he was asleep? What if he was crawled up there in the back seat and he was asleep? And the shots woke him up. What if he, this is my question, I'm just asking. I'm not saying that's what happened. I'm just, I'm just asking. He gonna be charged. That's crazy. I guess they charging him so they can get it all sorted out. I guess that's probably, is that what that is? Is they really gonna get it all sorted out, or they're gonna railroad that other boy? Because the shooter, yeah, no doubt, he needs to go. He needs to go to jail. He needs to go to jail for the rest of his life. I'd say this, for the majority of his life, he needs to go to jail. First, they need to evaluate him, see where he was, see where he is from a mental standpoint. That's number one. They need to see if he's competent to go to trial. That's number one. If he's competent to it's proven that he's competent to go to trial. Look here, boom. Hey, look here. You did the crime, yo. You got to deal with the situation ahead of you. Now, I don't agree what I heard on Channel 16 earlier when they said whether person of that's not of age, when they shoot somebody, now they're gonna get charged as an adult. You know what I'm saying? I'm not totally in agreement with that. Not totally in agreement with that. You know what I'm saying? Because the decisions that is made by a youngster, the consequences and repercussions, a lot of times the realization, they don't understand the realization of it until they go through it. You know what I'm saying? And I remember a story about they used to lock up these kids. I think it was in Alabama. And I remember listening to a story where this kid, he was like 13 or 14 years old. I think he had killed his parents or something. And they charged him, and then they locked him up with a bunch of adults. And the kid, and they was like, they was sexually abusing him. He said he couldn't even remember what happened with the shooting. He just, only thing he could remember what they was doing to him in prison. For me, yo, I ain't gonna lie. Yo, when I heard that story, I was bothered. I just turned it off. I was bothered. That bothered me. You know what I'm saying? A lot of stuff don't bother me that much, but to do that to a kid, to put him in a situation like that, that was wrong. The justice system over there sucked. Bad. That should have never happened. Should have never happened. Should have never happened. And that's what I'm saying. These kids, they make these decisions, yes. But they don't understand. But for you to put them in a situation, for you to put them, for the justice system to put them in another situation is wrong. You know what I'm saying? Because they wasn't in that situation when they committed that crime. See, they wasn't in that situation when they committed. They made that decision to shoot an individual. You know what I'm saying? Yes. But for you to put them in another situation, nah, that's wrong. Yeah, I would definitely put them in the situation. I would put them in jail. They need to be locked up, but they don't need to be locked up with a bunch of adults. Nah, they don't. They need to be isolated with their own peers. With their own peers. I mean, y'all sit around there talk about capital punishment. Yeah, but okay, what do you consider capital punishment? How you gonna put a 13-year-old in jail with a bunch of 40-year-old men? That don't even make sense. Where's the justice in that? These boys is 19 years old. They just beginning their lives. Yes, got that. But where is the justice in putting them in another situation that they have never been exposed to? They have never. Where's the punishment in that? Why would you punish somebody by putting them in another situation that could possibly create a problem with them? It could cost them their lives. Okay, where's the justice in that? Where's the justice in potentially creating an issue for them that could cost them their lives? They ain't never been in no situation like that before. No. You put them where they need to be. Then when they get of age, adult age, then you stick them in there with them adults. Then you put them in there with the adults. Put them in there with the adults. But I'm telling you, for you to put someone in there that's not of age and that's not of a mental capacity to handle, they think they can handle it, but they can't. But they can't handle it. That's crazy. It doesn't make sense to me. It never made sense to me. I would never put nobody in there. I don't care what kind of crime they committed. The crime, yes. Okay, if you're gonna punish me, if you're gonna punish somebody for life and put them in jail, incarcerate them, give them 3 hots in the cot, boom. Yeah, do that. But put them in a situation, no. And I don't care what color you are, what creed you are, what kind of crime you committed. None of that. Now I get like for like these serial killers, this, that, whatever, you put them in isolation. Got that. You gotta isolate them. You gotta isolate them cats. Like they did Hannibal Lecter and all them folks with the mental issues. Or you got some folks that's out there that be on a killing spree. And you gotta put them in, you gotta isolate them. Yeah, I get that. But something like this, no. That don't fit the punishment. That don't fit the punishment. And I don't care what they look. I don't care what they say. I don't care what they say. They can say they're gonna say whatever they want to say anyway. But this is my opinion. I don't care what kind of crime that youngster created. He made. You know what I'm saying? He commit. This right here is attempted murder. Attempted murder. They didn't murder the man. They attempted to murder him. So of course this is probably going to be a capital charge. Okay, cool. Got that. Don't have no problem with that charge being, they charging them with that. But for you to put them in another situation, you could create a bigger problem for them. Now, what if you put them in a situation where they really have to kill somebody? What if you put them in a situation where they say, well, they're gonna kill somebody anyway? Well, look, listen. Why would you put them? What if you put them in a situation where they get killed? Then what are you gonna say? They're gonna get killed anyway? Look, put them in the right situation and let nature take its course. If something happens, it happens. But don't have it happen because don't raise the stakes of it happening. Don't raise the stakes for it to happen. If they're supposed to be where they're supposed to be amongst their peers, put them there. When they get of age, put them in there with the adults. Simple as that. Simple as that. You know, like I said, that young kid over there in Alabama kind of got to me. That mess got to me. All he cared about was what they was doing to him in prison, and he just wanted to get the heck up out of there. I think it was this attorney. Yeah, it was this attorney. I remember. I can't remember. It might have not been Alabama. It might have been Cal. I don't remember. But it was this attorney was telling this story, and he couldn't. He's like he just couldn't. He just broke down. He couldn't do nothing. He was just hoping that he, would come back and help him and get him out that situation. Nah, I mean, come on, man. Come on, that's why I said some kids like that. Why would you put them in another situation? You are cruel. You are cruel criminal justice to do something like that. Cruel. Cruel criminal justice. And for these two individuals that created this, that did this attempted murder charge on that officer, y'all charging both of them, but only one did the shooting. I don't understand that. The other one gotta go up for what the other one did. That. See, where's the justice in that? Where is the justice in that, Mr. Prosecutor? Where is the justice in that? I don't understand it. Because he could be doing nothing. I mean, look, it's just like for me, for example. I just think about. Look, I'm laughing because I'm totally blind here, right? And let's say I'm in a car with somebody, and they commit a crime, or all of a sudden I just jump, and because I hear the shot, this person in the driver's seat just starts shooting, and the police come pull me out the car, and I'm trying to tell them I'm totally blind. I don't know what the heck is going on. They're gonna charge me too? If I'm in Rankin County, they probably will. I'm sorry, I had to throw that shot. If I'm in Rankin County, I probably will, or Madison County. But I'm just saying. I don't know. I don't know. I don't know I don't know. I don't understand. Let me say this. I don't understand. You know what I'm saying? And because I'm looking at it this from a resident citizen perspective, but I just can't. I'm looking at it from a right and wrong perspective. Just like when I was in school, and it's a whole crew of us, and somebody throw a rock and break a window, and they see the person that did it. Everybody pointing at them, but they pulling all of us into the office, writing us up. But we all pointing at him. They say, he did it. And they know who did it. But they're gonna write everybody up. That doesn't make sense. That doesn't make sense. That does not make sense. They're gonna get the ballistics on that weapon. Well, they're gonna get the fingerprints on that weapon. They know who shot that. Who shot that officer? They know who did it. They know who did it. I just think that there ought to be some type of balance to this. You know what I'm saying? Just because I understand it was an officer doing his job. Yes, I made that clear yesterday. But for me, for them to charge that fella, the other fella that didn't commence the shooting, or wasn't even involved. He probably wasn't even if he wasn't involved. You know what I'm saying? Everything, all this crap is a presumption anyway. I know that much. It's a presumption. And that prosecutor attorney gonna have to prove his case. I wonder if them kids gonna get. I wonder if them kids gonna get a gonna get a. They gonna get in the 30. When they gonna get a public defender? Public defender ain't gonna do them no justice. If they get a public defender, they're not gonna do them no justice. If they get a public defender, the public defender, they going to jail. Both of them. Both of them. They both going to jail. I'm just gonna tell you straight up. I know that much. I know that much. If they get a public defender, they're going to jail. If they well, their chances would be better to get a public defender, because if they get a public defender, they aren't, that's a sense of honor for them to appoint them a public defender. But their chances is better with a public defender because if they hire an attorney and that attorney, I'm telling you, they probably going to jail. If they hire an attorney, they're going to jail. Because that attorney ain't going to do nothing. The attorney, if they hire an attorney, the attorney not going to do anything. Their chances, it's a lottery, basically. It's a stinking lottery. Let's keep that a buck. It's a stinking lottery. 601, half a dozen on the up. If I hire an attorney, I'm going to get locked up. I can take my chances of getting a public defender because they're going to do me an honor. Boom, boom. Yeah. If that public defender, they don't know anything about anything. They don't know anything about letters of rogatory instructing the prosecutor attorney to do this, that, and the other. They don't know anything about that. Them young boys don't know nothing about that. They're just going to go with the flow. They're just going to go with the flow. Watch what I tell you. They're going to go with the flow. And them folks is going to railroad them boys, both of them. They both of them going to get railroaded. Ain't no doubt. You ain't going to hear no more about that. You know what I'm saying? The only thing you won't hear about is Officer Rodney's progress and everything like that. They're rallying around him, hoping that he gets better, and I do hope he gets better. You know what I'm saying? And and because I'm quite sure he told who shot it. I'm quite sure he told who shot it, who committed the murder, who committed the shooting. I'm quite sure he told it. My only thing I say my point is I stand on that 10 toes down. That other boy shouldn't be charged with me. Look, now accessory, maybe, yes. Accessory, yes. Or attempted joyriding or something like that, whatever the case may be. Whatever they're going to charge, but they need to be a different charge. Not the same. Not the same, because he wasn't behind that weapon. So, it remains to be seen. You know what I'm saying? It remains with how strong the prosecuting attorney going, how strong, what kind of case this cat going to come up with, and how strong that case going to be. How strong of a case he going to make, because everything is a presumption. Everything is a presumption. All this is a presumption until they come up with facts. You know what I'm saying? Until they come up with facts. Because the judge going to spit the law off the rip. The judge going to spit the law. So, it all remains to be seen. You know what I'm saying? But anyway, my plane landed on that one. You know what I'm saying? It's just, I just thought that, I kind of want to come on here and talk about this because this, hey, so, but, what's over What's up with that Carmelo Anthony case? I know they've been talking about that too. You know what I'm saying? Like I told you yesterday, it really didn't interest me. You know what I'm saying? And it's like, cat had a knife, whatever, this, that, whatever, boom, boom. And, and it's like he didn't get a fair trial, you know what I'm saying? Now, that concerns me. See, the injustice, certain injustices concerns me because how can you say you're going to be judged by your peers and all your peers don't look like you? Your peers don't look like you. You know, and it's like, if I'm being judged by my peers, don't they supposed to look like me? It's supposed to be somebody from the community, similar community where I'm from. Okay, I'm just asking, just asking. I don't know, just asking. What does that really mean? Judged by my peers, but then everybody, is from a different race. What does that mean? Does it mean my peers are going to be within the same race, within the same community? What does that mean? So if that's the case, then he wasn't. Then he was. That was an injustice. That was an injustice. And they need to file an appeal. They need to file an appeal, and I bet you his attorney didn't do. I bet you his attorney crapped out. His attorney crapped out probably. What does that crapped out mean? He didn't do his job like he was supposed to. They rolled the dice. They rolled the dice. See, the folks don't be knowing about letters of derogatory instruction letters and things of that nature. They don't know anything about that. And ain't nobody got time to tell them about the law and procedures and things of that nature. They ain't got time to tell these folks this. All these folks think about is getting out the situation that they in, and they hoping that these attorneys is gonna help them. They ain't gonna help you if you don't help yourself. Sorry for you, but this was here in this situation. It was it was a very unique situation in my opinion because we dealing with children here, man, kids. Especially with these two boys, man, we dealing with kids. Don't know, folks don't know about courts, and they don't teach it in school. Which that needs to be taught in school. Credit needs to be taught in school. Debt collections need to be taught in school. All that stuff needs to be taught in school. But it is not. It is not. And the people who is affected by it suffers. They suffer. They suffer because a lot of kids, they don't know what's going on. And when you don't know what's going on, how can you make the right decision? If I'm taught about credit, for example, if I'm taught about how to move with credit, when I'm in school, if I'm taught I know how to make better decisions when I'm older, because I'm already prepared. The same thing. Same thing. Yo, point this weapon. I'm going to jail. I'm going to jail. If I got weapons in this vehicle, and some of them could be illegal, I'm going to jail. See, you gotta know the kids. As I say, that stuff ain't taught in school. A lot of stuff is not taught in school. It need to be taught in school so them kids, so it can be already indoctrinated into those kids. But if them kids, if it's not indoctrinated in them, they're gonna do some science experiments. I call street science experiments. and they don't know what kind of result they're gonna get. And I feel sorry for them. But anyway, but that's it for me. I'm plain landed on this. I just wanted to. Hey, look here. Today's Thursday. Today is Thursday. You know, we got over the hump. You know, and I want to say, hey, look, listen, y'all stay vigilant. Keep, keep watching and keep reading and keep on asking questions. You know what I'm saying? Because it's a lot going on in the city of Jackson that, saying that we need to ask questions about. Stay involved with your community. And most of all, stay encouraged. I'm Raphael Bird, and this is the 601 Network, Real Jackson News.